Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with some more Total War Warhammer 2 online action. We're going to get to the online battle in just a moment, but today is the start of a new series. Yes, indeed. I had noticed, just kind of poking around YouTube, that for some reason no one has done a series highlighting the terrain, which to me is a little bit interesting because the terrain of the map you're fighting on is one of the most critical parts of the battle and should more often than not dictate your army planning. For example, direct line of sight artillery is a very obvious example, only really feasible on certain maps. So today we're starting a new series highlighting the different maps, and we're here today looking at MARBAD'S Tomb, one of the classic maps from Total War Warhammer 1, hence the reason we're looking at the tomb itself here. It is the defining feature of the map and provides a large impassable area towards the back of the map. I'm going to blow up the mini map here. You can see my forces are arrayed down here, but this is where my deployment zone would have been, is in this kind of area right here. We'll look at this in detail after the battle itself, but I just want to quickly point out some features. So you have this big impassable area in the back here. You have a series of 5 pillars on each side, or 5 cairns rather, these sort of burial mounds that are also impassable and do provide line of sight blockage. There's sporadic forests scattered on both sides, although some of it is a little bit deceptive in that you can't actually hide in it very well. Certain patches aren't actually real patches, but there are plenty of areas where you can hide as well. It's also one of the smallest maps in Total War Warhammer. You start very close together. I went full Gobbo Vanguard. We'll get to that madness in just a moment, but like the deployment zones themselves are really not that far apart, meaning you're going to struggle to get good value from artillery on this map just because it's so small. Rush faction is going to be very strong, and ambush faction is going to be very strong. It does provide space for you to fully Vanguard deploy behind your opponent, provided they don't deploy in this position. Obviously, because you can't, all this area is impassable, you could Vanguard deploy, maybe out to the side, or maybe in this back corner here, or maybe between the 2 back corners, but you're going to be splitting your forces there. But if you're on this side and your opponent's over here, you can fully Vanguard deploy behind them, which is what I've done here. So let's go ahead and now look at the battle. We'll go ahead and put this back down to size here. And yeah, so for myself, full Gobbo Vanguard. What can we say about this? Well, lots of goblins. It's made possible by the Gobbo Great Shaman on his wolf here, who has Vanguard deployment, his spell loadout, Itchy Nuisance, Steaky Stabbin', Gork'll Fix It, and in case we need to run away from a griffin or some kind of goon, we've got the Night Shroud. In terms of the rest of the army, we've got a mix of Nasty Skulkers and Night Gobbos with Fanatics up front, the 2 Regiment of Renowned Night Gobbos as well, of course. Warlord's Boys sadly don't have any Fanatics, but the 8-Peak Loonies certainly do. We've also got a Gobbo Firing Squad here, Rusty Airs and 2 Night Gobbo Archers, 4 Squig Hoppers, 2 on each flank in the woods here, and we've also got the Mangy Marauders and Moon Howlers in the forward area. For my opponent, he's got Karl Franz on foot, a line of Flagellants with some great swords on the flanks, 2 handgunners, a Witch Hunter, and a Fire Wizard, a Bright Wizard rather, with Fireball, Burning Head, and Piercing Bolts of Burning. He's also got 2 Demigryph Knights, one with Halberds, which is the Royal Altar of Cryphites, and one with Lances and Shields. So let's get the battle into full gear. We'll watch things unfold. So yeah, you can see immediately I'm going to be popping the wah and running in, since I was able to get fully behind my opponent with my infantry line. We're just going to be running straight in, and yeah, these Empire troops are going to have a terrible time of it. With the wah, these Gobbos up to 14 charge bonus, 24 on the Nasty Skulkers, but the fact that they have juiced up melee attack as well, we put chevrons into all the Gobbos. We're also going to be dropping that ooh, whoops, I meant to drop Itchy Nuisance there, but it looks like Gork'll Fix It instead, which is not actually going to help that much. But you can see Durkit Squigs coming in on this side. The other Squigs were able to come in and with the wah up do a ton of damage to the Royal Altar of Cryphites. Now that that's worn off, though, they'll definitely take the south end of that engagement. But we've been able to get on the handgunners and just instantly inundate the Empire forces here. You can see Karl Franz taking an absolute shower of arrows from those Gobbos, and of course with his armor being sundered and the fact that Franz doesn't have a missile block chance means he's going to take a lot of damage, as will the other Flagellants and the Gobbos around him as well. But yeah, you can see Flagellants is getting worked through. They will do okay against the Skulker. Skulker's not really meant to fight Flagellants, but the Night Gobbos in particular are going to be doing very well. You can see Fanatics cutting through the lines here, doing friendly damage and damage to our opponents as well. So lots of fun. Man, I just love Gobbos for the thematics of it. Such a comical group. But anyway, you can see the Demigryph Knights trying to come back and stabilize here, but the handgunners are pretty much shattered at this point, and they're just getting swarmed by Squig Hoppers. And actually, Squig Hoppers are not too bad for something like this because they have way more unit models and they have AP. As long as you can get behind, like these models that are doing attacks from behind won't be subject to melee defense, so they can actually get some pretty good work done even against elite troops like Demigryph Knights, just because they don't have enough unit models to really take that. The Moon Howlers as well, with the full 60 unit models at their full strength. But anyway, you can see the Gobbo Great Shaman tying up these Flagellants and just allowing them to get shot up by the Gobbo firing squad here. And yeah, at this point things are looking very desperate for the Empire. Obviously, a Fireball coming down just not going to be enough. That Bright Wizard probably needed to unleash a Burning Head straight down the line, but just not quick enough reaction. I mean, obviously the Gobbos were literally right there, so would have been tough to react in time. But anyway, very fun stuff. We'll go ahead and take a look at this map a little bit more in detail in a custom battle, just because that was very, very fast in terms of the actual looking at stuff. But yeah, hopefully you guys will enjoy this series of looking at maps, because of course the terrain, as I said before, one of the most important factors. There are a number of maps that I want to look at. I probably won't look at certain maps. If there are a bunch of flat maps, for example, I might cover them all at once, just saying like, hey, these are maps which are flat. So, you know, that's not a whole lot to talk about there, except that you can use direct line of sight artillery. But let's go ahead and quickly just look in a custom battle here. We'll go ahead and just grab whatever here, just something to load in with, and let's go to MARBAD'S tomb. So again, this is what it looks like on the mini-map, so you can always check, obviously, if you have the game in a different language. I don't know if the map names show as something different, but this is kind of the mini-map of it, so just make a mental note. It's got the big cairn on the one side and the 5 pillars running down each side. And unfortunately, I didn't bring a Vanguard deployment unit, so you can't actually see the zones, but if you imagine in your mind's eye, they're not too far out from where your opponent's deployment zone ends, so you actually do have quite a bit of space in these back corners over here. This entire area over here you can deploy in, and of course for your opponent, this entire area, this whole area back here, which is where I was deployed in the last battle, all are available for Vanguard. So lots of opportunities for Vanguard, lots of opportunities for Rush. This is probably one of the best Rush maps in the game. It's also relatively narrow, meaning that if you can bait your opponent into just rushing forward and they don't have anything out here in these periphery areas, you can get some really sneaky ambushes and push your forces up and around and get a full surround as well. So there are a lot of opportunities there. If you're on this side of the map, you can set your back against the wall pretty effectively. Like, let's say you're playing Dawi. If you put your back right up against the back of the tomb, or the front of the tomb here, then it's going to be impossible for your opponent to outflank you, basically. You can also kind of seal off the areas if you're on this side between, like, let's say this area right here. This is impassable and this is impassable, but this is passable here. So you could, in theory, set up, you know, a defensive line here, a defensive line here, and you'd have a geometry with 2 of your sides being covered by terrain rather than your own units. So lots of opportunities for utilizing the terrain for defensive positions and offensive actions as well. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about this new series. What maps do you want me to cover next? MARBAD'S Tomb is a classic, again, classic Total War Warhammer 1 map. Been in it from day one and one of my favorite maps for quite a long time, even though it's very tight, very confined. So much fun opportunity for vanguard deployment, offensive actions, good defensive positions, and yeah, there's just a lot you can do. And like, even if your opponent posts up with artillery, you can use those pillars to block line of sight, block shots, you know, really do a lot of different things. So like MARBAD'S Tomb quite a bit. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below of what you want me to cover next. Hope you guys enjoyed watching. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button so every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.